Hello everybody. Today I'm very happy to review the book Gentleman Taschemesser, or in English Gentleman Pocket Knives by Stefan Schmalhaus. Even if you cannot read German, well, if you like pocket knives, I think you will find this an interesting video with many samples. And also already I say this up front, the book, from what I understand, will be translated in English, so you will have already a sneak preview about what to expect for when the English edition comes out. Does Stefan Schmalhaus need an introduction? Well, I think if you're subscribed to my channel because of my interest in elegant pocket knives, then probably a very big chance that you're also subscribed to Stefan's channel, who is, I think, really quite aligned with me in taste. We both have an interest in elegant, well-made pocket knives that are in fact not weapons. His channel is, in fact, he uses his name, Stefan Schmalhaus, and plenty of very well researched reviews there with, as I mentioned, mainly elegant and traditional knives, and always a lot of history there. He really puts a lot of energy in his reviews. So if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, I really encourage to do that if you like elegant knives. So, but let's go back to the book, and I think he really did a seriously good job on there with a lot of research, quite similar in a way as what he does with his videos, and in fact a lot of lovely pictures. And you see here my book and my bookmarks, because there's a lot of things I would like to show you from the book, but I also have some of my own knives, so I can make some comments and or show some alternatives. I think that would be interesting. So yeah, and already before I go ahead, so you see here on the cover, he combines a very traditional pocket knives, a Northfield in the traditional American style, and a hyper modern design knife. Both are not weapons, I think, are really small utility knives. So the book is in German, and it is published by a publisher called Wieland. You can find it on the German Amazon, amazon.de. I don't think you can at this point find it on the American Amazon, but as I mentioned, it will be translated in English, which will open it up for more people. So, and it's quite beautiful. Huh? You see, it's really what they call a coffee table book. A perfect gift, in fact, for people who you think might be tempted by this quite niche subject of elegant knives. And it's also interesting, not so many books focus on this area, on this special topic of the gentleman knife. So that is in itself very interesting. So, you know, I will not show you all the pages. I mean, you really have to buy the real book for that, but I show you a number of highlights and then some comparisons. He begins with what is a gentleman knife? And yeah, well, you can indeed discuss what is it, and I like already in the early lines there, and a good definition would be, you know it when you see it. In fact, for me, gentleman knives are elegant utility knives with often quite an attention in detail to the material of the handle. They are in general not threatening, but utilities, elegant utility that you would use for smaller tasks. You would not use a gentleman knife to cut your way out of a sunken submarine, that kind of thing. No, you wouldn't do that. This, as opposed to what in fact most people who are into knives are very interested in, are tactical knives, more military, aggressive style knives. That is not it. So, in short, this will never be a gentleman knife. This is not what this book is about. Okay, now let's go a bit further. There is a bit about the history with some very ancient knives. I had seen this old Viking knife already in another book, but here this one I'd never seen before. a bit about history, and then more recent history when a knife industry became more, became really an industry, and I learned quite a bit because I was not really knowledgeable about the knife industry in Sheffield, the British steel city, which well now is, I mean, it's just a shadow of its former glory, but especially in the late 1800s, it was an important metal industry city, and you see it is a factory here, a company. Look how big they were. They made knives. So that is interesting. So you will see in this part you have some of the history of in different areas. Germany is of course there. There is a chapter on Solingen, the city of Solingen, and here for example an old catalog of Robert Klaas. It's already an old company, Robert Klaas, and if you see my channel, I visited the brand in 2 reviews, so that's also quite beautiful. America is of course also there, but you see here some the employees of Chatham Morgan and Queen Cutlery from respectively 1914 and 1922. So you see, it's a really well researched book with a lot of background, very interesting reading, which I think everybody will learn something from this. Then we get a bit more practical. The parts of a pocket knife, and I think that's a good thing here. The very traditional backlock knives, and then a more modern one, Spyderco obviously, where you have some more modern features like synthetic handle, holes in the liners to keep the weight low, and so on. So that's quite good. Well, when we talk about pocket knives, as you know, especially gentleman knives, handle materials are just as important as a steel, because this is all about exuding a certain elegance, a certain savoir-vivre, and that is why you can see here indeed examples of mammoth bone used for some luxurious pocket knives. So it's a good chapter, good chapter. What else? Again, I don't show you all the pages, but of course it's not just mammoth bone, also a good overview, well, especially for those who are quite new to the subject, to the more modern materials like G10 and carbon fiber, etc. Of course we have steels as well, with here some Damascus patterns about hardness, and the Rockwell test. Sometimes you still see that in a blade, that there is a little hole where they did the hardness test. An overview of some of the more popular steels that are used. Probably this part will always be slightly out of date. I mean, with every new print of this book, probably you need to add a few more, because the industry keeps on reformulating interesting new kind of powder metallurgic alloys. About the different kind of locking mechanisms, it begins with the most traditional of all, is probably the backlock. And of course, well, many gentleman knives don't have a lock at all, but backlock is one of the more traditional ones. And then a chapter on general styles. And I put here the bookmark on the La Guiole, the very well known, very elegant, very French knife. Is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful knives ever made. It exists since 200 years. I made a video on that quite a few years ago. You can search my channel where you have more of the history. I think indeed it's a knife you can use for eating and general lighter cutting tasks. It's something I think every knife collector should have a La Guiole. And then you see, but it's not only France. You see, this is also Italy, for example, is there. And you see some more about Italy. Because there's an enormous choice in Italy. Many people think, yes, American and French pocket knives, but the Italian industry is big as well. I will later show you my own copies of these when we look also at the real, more detailed reviews. The German ones, Sodbuster style, of traditional American style, with the American pocket knives have historically a bewildering array of blade combinations. Rarely tools like a Swiss Army knife, but different kinds of blades where well, you can use, for example, one blade for food and the other one for cutting wood, etc. As you can see, all the American styles. And now here, so that is, you could say, 1/3 of, well, a bit more than 40% of the book. Now, the rest of the book, well, most of the rest, Stefan will examine in great love of detail 60 gentleman knives, 30 traditional ones and 30 very modern ones. So, and the first one in fact is a Böker. Is this, and I think that is indeed a good choice. Now before we talk about the knife, let's see how he does that. At the right you have photos, and you will see with some more examples he made the photos himself, and he did a really good job there with finding cool props to make the picture a bit interesting. Like you know from his videos, always some history about the brand or about the pocket knife itself, and the most important data there, like the weight and the length, the blade length and so on, and where it's made and so on, the steel, all that kind of thing. So very detailed, very lovely. And so and this is already, well, you know, I don't have really a real criticism of the book, well, except a small one that I say later. But because 60 knives with loving detail is great, I think if this sells as well as I think it should, I hope that for a second edition there is a budget to have extra pages for even more of these detailed reviews. So anyway, so and now I will bring my knives in. So Stefan chose for the traditional one, and for most brands there is only one. Sometimes there are two of a certain brand, but not often, because, well, to make a decent selection. And I think with the traditional Böker, yes, this is a fantastic one. This one exists already since more than 100 years. 150 years almost or so. It's like an early Swiss Army knife, but in the very beautiful German style. I don't have this one. And now what I'm going to do, because as I mentioned, well, there is 60 lovely reviews, and to show for those who are not so, I would say, well versed in elegant knives, to show how much more variety there is. In this case I show you another one from Böker that I think would also fit. This one, this is also a small Böker with a lovely old wood, stabilized old wood that they used, with an Austrian steel. This one. This is, well, I would say, yes, it's more timeless in style. It's not very traditional, but it's also not very modern. This one gives you an idea. And so, what else? Again, I don't show you everything. I'm very happy that Stefan chose to include Robert Klaas, and you saw the brand already earlier in the book with an old catalog, because it's such an old brand that has in fact a few other brand names. So in the first few traditional knives are mainly German, and then there are some Americans coming as well. So Klaas, highly perfectionist, not so easy to find outside Germany, and even in Germany you have to go to specialized shops, and they make one of their most elegant models is this very beautiful, very classic backlog. And what I'm going to show you, I don't have that exact one. I've got two variants, and I show you here this one to show, well, you know what is also interesting, you can combine this very traditional style with a modern material. This is Corian, which is a Dupont material used for high quality kitchen tops and so on, kitchen furniture. But it works very well as a marble-like structure for an elegant knife. They also come sometimes with polished blades, but the one in the book and this one are sandblasted. Gives you an idea about the richness. So I skip again a few. Now here, this one, I just wanted to show you, this is one of the discoveries I did in this book. I didn't know this one. It's called La Navette. It seems an old French style, very pure, very simple, with a beautiful mammoth scale, so it, you know, it's not cheap. but absolutely lovely little knife to have in your pocket. I mean, come on, this is 10 times more beautiful than a G10 monstrosity with a black blade. It's absolutely lovely. And look here at the firework. Real discovery here. Then, well, you could say unavoidable. The book showed already the classic Laguiole, but another very popular, more recent French style is the luthier, which was in fact invented because the French artisan of the Thiers region, they wanted to really be able to put a brand there, while the Laguiole brand wasn't protected. But so it's a very clean and traditional knife. I have exactly this one as well. It's something I recommend. Now I just show you because there are many makers in Thiers. And this one, that's another one. It's not a Chambriard. Stefan shows the Chambriard, which is a brand with a good quality price. Here I show you one which is slightly more slender. You can see the handle. It's from a different brand. The handle is a bit more slender. The material is different. I think this is a micarta, in fact. And the blade is also slightly thinner. Just to show you that, yes, in this traditional Thiers style, you can find others as well. This one is less luxurious than the Chambriard, but it gives you an idea about the beautiful shape. These are also good for food. Now, and here this is interesting also. I mean, Stefan chose to include the Duk, and together with a few others in in the book, this is not. I didn't really think about it as a gentleman knife. It's but if you think about it, there are many very historic utility knives also in the book. And the Duk definitely has a lot of character. It's so mine has a stainless handle. Very often they have a dark handle. This is a knife that was originally used in the French colonies with a scarily sharp carbon steel blade, and more a very simple utility blade. But you could say that mine is already a bit bigger. Several are smaller than this. That indeed, well, why not? If you like the tradition, this can be a very elegant, simple knife. Traditionally seen as a simple utility knife. Unfortunately, in Algeria during the revolution there, it was used as a weapon, from what I read. But that's interesting. A very simple traditional knife that can become a highly characterful companion. Of course, the Laguiole is there, and from Fontenil Pateau, very good choice. I think that Fontenil Pateau is one of the best makers. And but you know what? I show you another one. This one. So the traditional Laguiole is really also for food, very long and slender. This is clearly also a beautiful Laguiole from Fontenil, with this one with the horn tip handle. But this is really more a pocket knife in the traditional sense, a gentleman pocket knife, with here the backlock is here. So more compact, more thick as well, quite a sturdy one in fact, compared to this very slender eating knife. So it gives you an idea about the variety you can have in gentleman knives. I forgot to say one thing, because I mentioned the nice pictures there. Well, if you know Stefan's channel, you know that in very many of his reviews he does a cutting test. And he will not do a cutting test like many knife maniacs do. It is chopping through metal or so. No, he, as a true gentleman, he loves to cut his high quality sausages. That's why I think, well, together with the luthier is a perfect food knife. So it's good that Stefan shows his beloved sausage there. Bon, let's go on. Also interesting, another traditional knife that is very elegant is the Nontron. And what is also cool, he chose, I would say, a somewhat more modern variant, well, with the straight handle and the dark ebony wood, so straight end, I would say, and the dark ebony wood handle. It becomes quite a modern one. a very timeless and modern one. And while this is a very old traditional knife, and I show you, I don't have a black one, but I once made like many of these knives. If you're interested, if you look in my channel, I found other ones. I have other reviews for most of these knives. The more traditional Nontron has this boxwood, the blonde boxwood, very hard boxwood, and there's a whole history behind it. It's a very old style, but I think when it so this is more a beautiful regional knife with a 400-500-year-old design. Stefan chose the more luxurious one in his book. I think it's a good choice that he used that one. So what else? Ah yes, that is my second big discovery here. This is a tailor's eye, which is a British company from Sheffield. And notice here one of the nice props that they uses. It's a gentleman magazine that Stefan found for this picture. Lovely. Now this one, I mean, I knew, I mean, you can find several of these Sheffield knives, but I didn't know you could still find some of the better made, you could say semi-custom grade in quality. Of course, not so cheap. They are like $250, I think, equivalent. But look how beautiful this is. Very, very clean in style. Somewhat American, I could say, in style, but with a very chubby handle. I love this one. Really a discovery. Then here we have a few Italians. And I mentioned already at the beginning, and there's a chapter on Italian knives. There's such a variety. So if you begin be interested in pocket knives, the Italians should be on your radar when it comes to elegance. So this is here a consigli, an absolutely beautiful one that looks a bit like a dagger. I've got another consigli that's in fact, there's a similar one shown earlier in the book. To give you an idea about, this is a brand that is really worth investigating. Beautiful horn tip handles, totally elegant, totally art design. And this one, both designs are very old designs, at least 100 years old, but they are so beautiful that they are timeless. Another one is here, that is from Saladini. It's a very traditional Italian knife, this one, the general shape. It looks a bit like the Spanish navaja, but this is, you could say, an Italian variant. I have this one, and earlier in the book there is also a variant of this one. It's called with what they call a leaf kind of shape handle, also very beautiful. But to give you an idea how rich I mean, if you are interested, because of this book, there is so much to discover, and these brands have so much to discover. And of course, Stefan, because of space reasons, couldn't show 10 knives per brand. Also interesting here, the Hironokami, little Japanese utility knife, and it can be a perfect little companion. I have one that I have not yet made a video of, and it's quite similar. I know what I will do for the video. You will eventually see it. Also quite a nice Japanese semi-manga illustration there. So in fact, and I believe indeed it was originally, if I'm not mistaken, it was originally designed as a little utility knife for in schools and so on, and indeed you can use it to cut your, to sharpen your pencils, as he shows. Bon. American knives. There are a number of traditional American knives, like here. This is a case Kano knife. What am I going to show you here? Well, Case and makes plenty of knives, and there are many traditional knives with all kinds of varieties. Just wanted to show you, if you like this traditional style and if you are really on a budget, well, this one is not a Case, it's a Rough Rider. It's made in China, but up to a really respectable standard. This one even has mother of pearl scales. So you don't need, if you like the traditional style and you look around, look for Rough Rider, for very elegant knives on a reasonable budget that do not have a high-end steel, but that work nicely enough. Now, and then I skip again somewhat. We begin with the modern knives. And what I thought was fantastic, that one of the the first one there is from the Belgium, and I come from Belgium, as some of you know, a custom knife maker Philippe de Koene, who makes extremely pure knives. And these days he makes especially variants of this very pure and elegant friction folder. Look at that. And I have two, I don't have one yet, eventually I will succumb to the temptation. I have two others from him that I would like to show. And in fact this is one of the very few custom knives in the book. Most of them are very often reasonably affordable production knives. But this is a true artisanal knife. To give you an idea about Philippe de Koene, where he comes from, I have this one since a number of years. This is a more traditional small custom knife, a bit Kershaw in style, very beautifully made, but more traditional. I think stylistically he had made an evolution there. And then what I also have from him, and again I've got video reviews on all of them. I think with this one he jumped into the more futuristic, very pure style. This one, which is actually in a design museum. In fact, to be honest, this one was a collaboration with another custom knife maker, but who made a general design, but Philippe really executed this with absolute perfection. Bon, so we go on. Beuker comes back. Beuker is one of the few brands with two knives. Early in the book, the first one was that very traditional Beuker, and here is to show that the company also makes modern knives, in this case a production version of a custom design. I must say I knew this one from the catalog. It always flew a bit under my radar, but indeed when you read a bit about it and you look at the details, this one is really worth investigating. It's really nice, really quite a pure, elegant knife. I show you another Beuker. Well, Beuker has so many knives. What I think is also a very cool gentleman knife is this one, the Skeleton. They come in two sizes, and they're so popular they come in different handle materials. This one is G10, but it's also very beautiful, I think, it's simple and puristic, designed by a South African knife maker. It's worth browsing the Beuker catalog to see all kinds of interesting designs that they offer. Also cool, the Enzo from Brisa. It's a small Finnish company making mainly making high quality knife parts, but they also make knives. I'm not certain if they make them themselves. No, indeed, I remember now they make them in Taiwan, and it says it even here in the article. Stefan did his homework. I'm not surprised about that. I have exactly the same one. It's a very, very good choice, Stefan. I think this one is a very nice, very pure pocket knife with interestingly a Scandinavian grind that you see more on their fixed blades, which are tremendously good for wood cutting. Bon, let's continue. So I think you begin to agree that this is really a treasure chest, this book. He also shows an example of the modern luthier. So this is, I already showed you the traditional luthier, and he discussed the chambrière. This is a modern design with ray skin inlay, also absolutely beautiful. And also here to give you an idea about how rich the modern luthiers can be in variety. This is one from Fontenil Pateau. You have here really the general style, but it's a very different, and also I would say a gentleman pocket knife. Again, to give you some idea about the variety, because Stefan clearly couldn't make the book 300 pages more thick. So, but a good choice, Stefan. I think this is a very nice one that you put there. Then a number of you say modern French ones, and in fact it's Percival, and this is the L8. This one has a dark wood, probably ebony. I forgot, in fact. I've got one in pistachio wood. I'm very happy that he put Percival there for two knives. And Le Français, very pure, very simple. Absolutely lovely. Well, this brand makes not very traditional knives, but totally timeless knives. So they do not go back to 100 years tradition, but they are so nice that you can see them being made within 100 years as well. Both are good for general smaller use and for food. Very good brand, worth your attention, and I'm happy that they're in there. The Français is in fact one of my absolute favorites because of its purity. I skip some. Then some Italian brands. We have the Lion Steel Opera, which I think is also indeed a good choice. Notice here that there is here an antique program of an opera from Verdi. And in fact this is also a good choice. This is one of the most sturdy, purely gentlemanly knives that I know. What is also interesting with the Opera, it comes in two sizes. This is the normal size, but there's also a bigger one. I do think that mine has a bit too much text on the blade, and there's another brand that I will show you that also does that. Interestingly, the one in his book has D2, the very tough tool steel. Mine is 440C, so that's interesting. So about that, you can find them in different blade materials depending on your preference. Mazarin, another brand that for American knife collectors may fly a bit under the radar, but very high quality Italian style pocket knives. I show you here for variety another Mazarin, which is Le Gourmet. You could say it's the Italy's answer to the Laguiole. It's a perfect knife for barbecuing and for food. Very pure, very simple, very elegant. And this one is more a traditional pocket knife, but you can see also lovingly made. I've never seen this model in reality. Well, to be frank, I have the impression that outside Italy, Mazarin is not so easy to find, and that's a pity. They make really good stuff. Viper, another great Italian brand, and Stefan has one with a dark tropical hardwood in the handle, and also again nice picture there. He did really a good job there. I've got a more traditional one in olive wood handle, and what you can see how nice that the handle is rounded everywhere with a nice finish here. Unfortunately, like Lion Steel, in my case, a bit too much text on the blade. But I think it's also a very nice choice, and I think that if you browse to the book and you read the articles, that you will definitely get more interested in Italian pocket knives. They know what they do. We have some Japanese entries, like here, this M. Custa. I have the older variant, which is dark red, the handle, which is variant 75. This is variant 74 of this series, with their interpretation of Damascus. I will tell you now that this is was my first luxury pocket knife, and it's the one that put me on the slippery slope of knife collection. So in a way, I have to blame this. It's a lovely choice, and another brand that many people are not so aware of, but that always offers very good quality. Moki, one of the few brands with two entries in the book. Moki is, in my opinion, one of the very best choices you can make. The quality of production is like the best custom knife. They're absolutely perfect. You may have a Moki knife without knowing it, because they OEM I think 3/4 of their business, like for example for some Spydercos that are Japan made, are made by Moki. That is well known. I think the Kali 3 is made by Moki. I'm not certain, but I think it's that one. And this is a beautiful sample here with mother of pearl inlay. If you ever hold a Moki, you will recognize these are the ultimate gentleman knives. Totally precise. totally not tactical, not aggressive, and absolutely perfect. I have here two variants I wanted to show. This is one here also with mother of pearl, but with micarta, quite a special one. I must say, yes, Stefan's is nicer than mine. This one is also quite nice, I think, with all the carefully selected, nicely inlaid pieces of mother of pearl. And then one that you already saw in two of my videos, a very old-fashioned Moki. In fact, like their very first knife, and it's more in American style, I would say. So, indeed, good that they have two entries in the book, because this is a knife brand worth of your consideration. Interesting also to find Rockstead, absolute high-end brand there, which despite a somewhat more aggressive style, do not market themselves at all as tactical. They really market themselves as high quality utility with and out of price for most mortal people. So, but it's worth indeed. It's a good choice to have them here in the book. Sweden is there with the Eka, very nice brand. And they are more known for their hunting knives, in fact, than for their general outdoor knives, than for gentleman knives. But they make a series of these very small and elegant little knives. I don't have any of those. I have one which is more a very simple and favorite and thin, which is nice. A little outdoor folder from them. You see, very different in style. Sweden continues. You see, Valniven, I should say, one of the best brands I know of. In fact, designed in Sweden, made in Japan, and this one is in fact called a gentleman's pocket knife. It says so on the blade. It says GP for gentleman's pocket knife. Good choice. I had, again, to show you the variety, an older one, a very simple one, which I think is also an essential pocket knife, is the U2 from them. A simple and tremendously, shockingly sharp little companion knife. Very good stuff what they do. Also worth your consideration. So I think you agree that when going with me through the book, and I mean showing you some samples, that he made a really good selection there of knives. More information now about Klotsley, which is a personal favorite brand, and that's the one that's also on the cover, a collaboration knife. Pictures give a good idea of the very precise inlay. There is some background of the brand. Klotsley is, in my opinion, the brand with the, I would say, maybe the best general brand for modern pocket knives. Or one of the best, equally good as Chris Reeve, etc. I've got two. I've got more. I've got like 4 or 5. But I've got here two to show you, and I should clean the blade a bit, I noticed. These are very different ones. This is a collaboration with Michael Walter, while this one was a combination with Mr. Russell, who is also a knife dealer. And this is a sailor knife style, also Walker design. It's a very interesting brand that is worth searching for, because you don't find them often in the typical American web stores, and the quality is absolutely perfect of this brand. Okay, what else here? Yes, here of course the Swiss Army knife is there, and what I think he did well, he chose one which is a pure knife. This is the Pioneer, which is is only a knife. Many people don't even know this exists. The metal ones are always sturdier than the plastic scaled Victorinoxes. These are cheap and I would say not nasty but cheerful. Very good general utility blades. A good choice here. So I must say, in general, one of my absolute favorite knives is a somewhat thicker one, which is really the Swiss Army knife, which has a few extra tools. While it's one of my cheapest knives, it's one of my favorite ones. So I'm very happy that it's in the book. Okay, we're almost getting there. Benchmade is there, of course, with the Megumi, which I've never seen in reality, but it's indeed is more that modern, slightly tactical in style, but still very elegant with wooden inlay. It's quite a small knife, this one, in fact, 65 millimeters only. I have a very different Benchmade, which is not made anymore, and it's called, I think it was called the Nagara. Now I'm almost forgot about this. This one was from their affordable range, made in China, but I think to a tremendous standard, the way it was made. The one here is a more in the book is more luxurious. Okay, la. Yeah. CRKT with a Canonian design. Really a very talented knife designer, and I would say this one is also one that are called gentleman tactical. It's somewhat more aggressive, but still, it's really not a weapon. It's more a futuristic tool. It's very small, in fact, the arrows in reality. I don't have the arrows, I should say. I have the Ripple, which has somewhat similar style marks made from a very structured metal handle, and the blade turns on ball bearings, which make it extremely smooth. Mine, I would say, is not really a gentleman knife. It's more an utility knife. While this one is, if you see it in reality, it's a very precise little cutting tool. Good choice. Bon. Of course, from Benchmade, from Chris Reeve, more information about the Nandi, which is his well-known gentleman knife. I do think, however, that it's a matter of choice. The small Sebenza, while it's more an utility blade, could also be considered as a gentleman knife. I do think so, even if it's more hard use. It's very clearly, especially in this blade variant, it's not a weapon. I think it's a small utility blade. And then, you know, Spyderco, one of my favorite brands, and that is quite interesting. Stefan chose, in this case, the Sage 1, which is fantastic. It's a fantastic general utility blade. Not too big, very smooth, lovingly, expertly made in Taiwan. In fact, I must say the Taiwan-made Spydercos are as good as my Klotzlis when it comes to finish. They're absolutely perfect. They're you cannot improve on them. So I think this is I understand the choice. It's a good utility blade and not specially aggressive, I think. And of course there is the limitation of the book size. That's why I think really, well, you know, there are other alternatives. I mean, I think Stefan could have taken any of 10 or 15 Spydercos that fit the bill, because the brand has many knives which I think could be considered as a very interesting gentleman knives. I'll show you just a few here. First one, excuse me, the Urban, small, with this orange color, not aggressive. It's a slip joint, no lock, and has a very pleasant Warncliffe blade for general cutting. I think you can consider this small utility blade also as somewhat gentlemanly. But then when we look at the more, what people often think as gentleman knives, which means a bit more luxurious, and then like the Sage, I mean, carbon fiber is seen as a luxury material. This is the Coppa with the giraffe bone handle, and the first generation Kiwi with the red bone handle. So these are other Spydercos which I think would more traditionally fit the definition of a gentleman knife. But yes, it's a choice, and I think there's nothing wrong with the choice of the Sage. So this gives you, I mean, I showed you roughly half of the knives that are in the book, but I mean, there are others. There is a bit more about maintenance and some definitions. So I think you see it's really quite a cool book. So what is missing? Well, here, you know, I think if they print a new edition, the book could benefit from a proper index, so that you can easily find all the references or all the reviews even to all the brands. I think that is the one thing that I think the Wieland Verlag, or maybe the American translation, what they should add to make it much more easy to find back some examples and so on. That's the only thing. And then of course, well, if there would be, opportunity to make the book a bit bigger, I do think it would be fun to have even more knife reviews and go from 60, let's say 100. Because, well, I showed you some variants. I think, well, it's only the tip of the iceberg. What Stefan could do in, I think, around 300 pages, or 250 pages or so. I think the topic is so rich that it would be fun to have even more pages. To give you an idea, what could be added, well, I give you two. Opinel, the Opinel lock is mentioned in the book, but they are not featured prominently with their own review. Now, in fact, Opinel indeed usually are very simple utility knives without any luxury. Now, in fact, Opinel makes some luxury variants, which I do think could be considered really as a gentleman knives, like this one with the bone handle and this one with the multi-layered handle and with polished blades. So these suddenly become luxury objects now. So that could be worth mentioning. And also the Spanish knife industry, there are a number of smaller and medium-sized manufacturers that also make knives that are worth the attention of somebody looking into gentleman knives. This is the brand Polaris Sonsona, and somewhat Italian in style, but still a bit different. So that's another. So to give you an idea, there could be even more in the book. But I would say really, I mean, this is not a criticism. This is just saying for a V2 what would be fantastic to expand an already really nice book. I think he did a really good job here. And if you can read German, or if you just want to drool over knife porn pictures, this book is really worth your attention. And otherwise, from what, as I mentioned, I understand that the book will be translated into English, so it's really worth looking out for yourself, a gift for yourself, or to give to somebody else who's interested in knives. So broaden maybe the opinion about knives, that they don't have to be weapons. It can be simply very elegant tools. So I hope you found this review video, which I notice is my longest ever, found that interesting. I tried to give you some variants to give you an idea also of the variety. I think this is an absolutely fantastic book, and congratulations to Stefan. He did a fantastic job here, a lot of work. Good, I'm curious about your feedback, and see you next time. Bye.